Last week at the 77th World Health Assembly, the WHO was hoping to present two totalitarian governance instruments for adoption. One is the Pandemic Treaty, also referred to as the Pandemic Accord, and the other is the amendments to the International Health Regulations. However, this didn't happen due to an inability of member countries to agree on the text of the agreements. We'd like to believe objections were raised by member countries over the totalitarian nature of the accord and the amendments, but as WHO watchdog James Roguski revealed in a recent interview I did with him in March, the objections have largely been raised by poor countries upset that they weren't being given a fair share of the economic benefits enjoyed by more affluent countries. But does this mean the treaty is dead, as many are claiming? Certainly, Dr. Meryl Nass, an expert on biowarfare and founder of Door to Freedom, an anti-WHO governance organization, thinks so. Nothing in the Pandemic Accord can rise from the ashes of the negotiations to be voted on this week. The treaty is done. People now understand what it was about, what was in it, and how it was the first step to a one-world government. They've said no to all that. Dr. Nass characterized the news as a first-round win in the war of democracy versus one-world government. There is one exception, Nass said. Referring to Article 5 of the IHR amendments, she noted that the negotiators were fine telling nations to surveil their citizens and combat misinformation and disinformation. However, she continued, nearly all governments are already surveilling and propagandizing us, so while this provision is odious, it really doesn't change anything. She also noted that while consensus was reached on Article 18, the implementation of health passports and other similar documents during a health emergency, this is now a recommendation instead of a requirement. Definite language, such as the word shall, has been removed from the text. However, while this is definitely a victory for freedom and a large setback for the globalist control agenda, they're not simply going to give up. Dutch attorney Mieke Terhorst said, according to my information, if the pandemic agreement fails, then they can continue negotiations later this year with the view of trying again at next year's World Health Assembly. The next step may be that they take the agreements to the UN General Assembly in September in New York to elicit a broader discussion and look for ways to rewrite the accord and amendments to get them passed next year. And remember, too, that the objections raised by non-consenting countries were not due to giving up sovereign control, but rather not getting enough money out of the deal. Tyrants never just give up and go away. They have to be stopped. We should celebrate this victory. It has, at the very least, bought us time. But the war is not yet over. You can also see my recent interview with Dr. Nass at ironwarreport.com.